All right, you're good.
Hi everyone, Hillel Greene here, sending you words of Torah from Camp Ramah. This week's Parsha is Parsha Shemot. Lots of things happen in it, but I want to focus on one thing in particular. After Moses is rescued by Pharaoh's daughter in the Nile, he's brought up into Pharaoh's house, and according to the rabbis, along with that, gets all the amenities due to royalty. Rashi even, the great commentator Rashi even says that he is made second in command of all the house, second only until Pharaoh himself. So according to this reading, Moses grew up in a life of luxury, completely sheltered from the harsh realities of the lives of so many of his brethren just outside of his palace walls. He was born silver spoon in hand, a fortunate son, so to speak. But then he does something that many of us fortunate sons never do. He leaves the comfort of his home and goes out to see what's beyond the palace walls. It says in chapter 2, verse 11, Vayihi b'yamim hahem vayigdal Moshe vayetze el echav vayar b'sivlotam. Now it came to pass in those days that Moses grew up and went out to his siblings and looked at their burdens. It is this witnessing of the plight of his people that starts Moses on his journey towards leading the Israelites out of slavery and towards freedom. Only after Moses went out of the palace walls that blocked his vision was he able to recognize the oppression of his people, which he, by the way, had been benefiting directly from growing up in the palace. And from there goes on to make change. What I find inspiring about Moses' action is that he so easily could have remained within the walls of his palace, but instead he chose to go out and see the world for himself firsthand. To top that off, he was even willing to drop his preconceived notions in the face of the truth. Instead of simply ignoring what he saw outright or waving it away with rationalizations, he determined that he needed to change his ways and took steps to create that change. One of the things that I always loved about camp was that it often forced me to step out of my palace walls, so to speak. Living in a bunk with campers coming from all over the area, from different families and different backgrounds, forced me to see the world through a different perspective. But I think this week's Parsha is challenging us to do even more. To not just learn other people's perspectives, but to really remove the blinders that we wear in our lives. The way we sometimes look at the world and ignore the harsh realities and somehow convince ourselves that we aren't in some ways responsible. Whether it's about hunger, inequality, and racism in our justice system, slavery that still exists in the world, unfortunately that's true in America and also in Israel, or any of the other ways in which we benefit in some way through the mistreatment of others. So my question for you this Shabbos is, where are the palace walls in your own lives, and what can you do to step outside of them? And my hope is that when we do manage to go outside of these walls, that we can not just be witnesses, but like Moses, become true agents of change in the world. Shabbat Shalom.